Diana, I have to tell you, every once in a while you have a miracle happen. And I had a miracle happen with you. I get on an airplane. I was exhausted. And I see you sitting there on the plane and my seat is next to yours. And you don't know this, but you are the person that I really admire the most and I've been wanting to meet. And the reason is because I rarely meet people that after a certain age don't stop growing. And I heard you speak on the road and I thought to myself, how is this woman, after everything she's been through in life, continue to evolve and grow and have the oomph that I want you to rub off on me, still can get up.
Thank you, I'm honored. Thank
no,
you.
really, can get up again and do something that is so extraordinary. And I mean, I can't even describe what you have done. Just thinking about it makes me again want to get up again when I fall and do something great. So I just have to say that I really honor you because you are really a one of a kind woman.
Well, thank you. I will say I've been lucky like you. I've traveled the whole world. And yes, there are extraordinary individuals who have done extraordinary things, but I think every human being is special. Every person has epic in them. Every person has true grit in them. So in some ways, yes, I sort of embody someone who shoots for the stars, and I don't care if I fail because I'm going to discover myself that way. I'm going to inspire everybody around me to be the best they can because that's the only way we're going to be able to go about it. But there's a bigger umbrella ethic for me, and that is simply to engage. I admire people like you. It doesn't matter how tired you are, you're going to get up, you're going to find your energy, you're going to help those women who haven't maybe had the Tony educations and weren't born with all the opportunities in their backyards. You're going to say to them, you can still do it. You can go out and find your true grit. You can be anything you want to be in this life. And that engagement, instead of locking the door and sitting and making sure you don't know your neighbors, you don't care what their problems are, you don't care what the problems of the world are, you're just going to skate by, make your money, make your little life happy. That's something I don't admire. So you live that life in spades, and we are cut of that same cloth, and it doesn't have to do with success. It has to do with engage and try and stand up for what's right.
But let me ask you something, because when I look back, I mean, I read your New York Times article and I was kind of shocked because I didn't know that you had had such a difficult childhood and that really bad things happened to you. So out of that, how did you get the oomph and the positivity that you have today to do everything you've done?
Two things. One, I was giving a speech in New Mexico, and I did mention my sexual abuse story, just in passing. You know, I think I stand up as somebody who's happy, somewhat successful, has the tiger by the tail. So, you know, you may go through things, but you thrive and you press on if you want to live a good life. So I did mention it very briefly, kind of glossed over it that night on stage. That night I was taken to a dinner and there were a lot of the academics from that university. One of the women was very old and she had been in the Holocaust. So we started talking and she reached to get the water and I saw the numbers etched in her wrist. And I said, "Oh, you're a survivor." And she said, "I am." And I said, "Is this the craziest place to ask you to tell the story in this restaurant?" And she had heard my speech that night, so she knew I had that particular background. And she said, "I was 3. We were in Poland. We were Jewish. My father said, if they come to get our family, I'm not going. They can shoot me right here. They came to get the family. He didn't go, and they shot him right there. The mother and the 6-year-old and this 3-year-old, who's now elderly and telling me this story, were taken to Treblinka on a train. They got off. They had been pooping and peeing in their clothes on the train for 2 days. When they walked down on the platform with the Gestapos herding them around, the mother and 6-year-old were taken that way, and she went alone this way. And that day, she became the SS officer's little concubine. And for the next 2.5 years, before the resistance came and saved her, she performed every sex act that I couldn't even name, every day, many times a day, as a little girl. And I started crying at this restaurant. And she took my hand And she took me into the hallway where the waiters were coming in and out. And she said, I was rescued by a French family. They adopted me. And I said, but how? How did you ever go through that and find this light in your eyes? You showed me the picture of your children and your grandchildren. You've been revered at this university. How could you have gotten over that? How could you have lived a happy life after that, found a smile? She said, the French mother took me in the back garden the day I arrived. Now, I was 6 years old, never saw my mother again, never saw my sister. They were both gassed at Treblinka. And she said to me, listen, I could never replace your mother. I'm not even going to try. But you need to tell me today what happened. Speak it out. Tell me everything that happened. And we're going to start living a new life tomorrow here. She had no idea what she was about to hear. And when she heard it, she held this little girl and she said, tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to grab the sunrise and you're going to live a meaningful, loving life. And you'll never be able to forget this, but we today are going to take this story and put it into a corner of your soul, and you're not going to live it on your skin because you can't believe it, but people are good. Most people are good, and you're going to find them. And you're going to start with me right here in this house. So that woman can get over the Holocaust. I was molested by my swim coach. I'm angry about it still to this day. It affects me in certain parts of my life that I still have not gotten over, shall we say. Maybe I never will. But I'll tell you something, people, every human being on earth has heartache. Every human being goes through pain. And what we do is we hold each other and we say, let's look at the next sunrise together. Let's live meaningful lives. So if that woman could bound out of her pain, I could certainly bound out of mine.
Wow. Let's talk about these swims, because since you're obsessed with me and I'm obsessed with you about Cuba, and your famous Cuba swims.
Yeah.
Not one, not two. I mean, talk about failure, and you tried, and what possessed you to do those swims?
You know, first, I think that all of the great adventures on Mother Earth, whether you're running across the Kalahari Desert or you're climbing Everest or Annapurna, the great alpine climbs, there's something about the geography, the story that excites you. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. When I was 9 years old, the Cuban Revolution happened. Overnight, literally in 24 hours, thousands of Cubans flooded into Little Havana, my hometown. I was filled with the mystique of that foreign, forbidden land right across our horizon. So to me and to millions around the world since 1959, there was a magic about Havana. And so I was standing with my French mother one day and I was a little swimmer already. I was a little competitive swimmer. I said, Mom, where's Cuba? I know it's out there somewhere. I can't see it. And she said, oh, I'm going to show you. You lift your arm up this way. It's there. No, it's right there. As a matter of fact, it's so close. You could almost swim there. So that wasn't really the concrete moment. Edmund Hillary talks about when he first read about Mount Everest, he was a little boy. And nobody had even tried to climb Mount Everest, and it was a swirling story in his head. Cuba and swimming there, and the great swimmers had been trying since 1950, since basically I was born. So it was something in my consciousness since I was very young, to try to be the first ever, and in part to connect those two lands, those two nations. You know, I got to go to President Obama's office, and he said, you're stepping off one shore, and 53 hours later touching that other shore was such a gesture, you know, that we can all, hopefully we're going to get there, that we're going to be together again one day. So, you know, it's such an honor for our team to think that we had something to do with making that connection again.
But how do you go from that idea to, I mean, you were much older.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of all the women that I see and that say, but I'm too old to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as we get older, women do have these moments.
Yeah.
You do feel, even if you have self-esteem, even if you feel good about yourself, there are moments where the thought does come into women that I'm too old for this. That phase of my life has ended. I feel like when I see you, you're like 20 years old over and over again. You're physically and in every way, you just pull yourself up there. Well, how do you do that?
Not really. I mean, in some ways you have to get real. You know, I mean, we're all going to die one day. We're all on a one-way street. I don't care what your religious beliefs are for afterlife. This life here on this earth is going to be, if you're lucky, 80, 90, healthy, strong years. So I'm 68 in 1 month, 69. And, you know, I'm real about that. I look in the mirror and clearly I'm not 28. Or 38 or even 48, and who cares? What I care about is, you know, every minute that I worry about being old or go into some sort of neurosis about it, I've missed living that minute. So I'd rather be, you know, aging and get real about aging than stew about it and not do things, you know, not be, as I said before, engaged. So when I turned 60, you know, that was an old dream, Cuba. I had tried it when I was 28 years old. And I always, no matter what swims I did, the Bay of Naples in Italy, the coast of Argentina, all I cared about was Cuba and researching it. And it is a vast, epic wilderness out there. It's dangerous. It's not just the distance is clear. It's over 100 miles in the open ocean. Nobody had done half that. It's those particular sharks, the oceanic white tips. It's those particular jellyfish, the box jellyfish, the most potent venom on earth. It is the mighty Gulf Stream traveling due east, screeching 6 times faster than your speed while you're trying to swim north against it. Takes a mathematical genius, which we had, John Bartlett, plotting a new course every 15 minutes, trying to tack you across. Giant eddies swirling counterclockwise within the Gulf Stream. Can't see them with space telemetry. The reason nobody ever made it is every mother nature obstacle on steroids is out there against you. And what did 60 have to do with my not being able to do that? You know, it never occurred to me. I didn't make it, and then I went to work for 30 years. I was a sports journalist, and I'm not going to complain. But after 30 years of that, my mom died at 82, and I thought, I'm 60? Could genetics possibly mean that I might only have 22 scant years to live? I better be everything I can be, you know, before it's too late. And I started drumming up that dream again. I started, you know, reaching down for Mary Oliver poems, you know, and I walked around with that poem the whole month of turning 60, which was August 2009. I had it by the bedside. I had it in my car. I had it eating breakfast. I had it walking the dogs on the beach. And it's that the summer's day. It's those breathtaking 2 lines. Tell me, what is it you're doing with this one precious life of yours? That's it. One-way street. You got one life. I'm saying to myself, what are you doing? I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to chase that Cuba dream. It's not about swimming. It's not about sports. It's about being the nth degree of everything I can be, from courage to athlete to inspiration. And I failed, and I failed, and I failed a 4th time, and we went after it a 5th time, and we made it. And the moral of the story rang around the world. 25 million people followed us, and it wasn't a story of fame. It wasn't a story of being on the Wheaties box. It was a story of other people with their own dreams saying, if I just don't give up. She proved it. If you refuse to give up, you'll get to your other shore, whatever it is.
How did you not give up?
You know, there was a...
Didn't you want to give up?
No, never wanted to give up. The resolve was very strong. Let's say I would have gone to my death and just kept trying and trying and trying. And so I don't know why, but my mother says when I was 6 and 7 years old, I was very worried about how fast this is all going to go by. Kids aren't like that. When you're 6, you can't even imagine being 7. Mm-mm. And for some reason, I was worried about the ticking, the pressure of the ticking clock. And so, you know, all my life, I haven't always done the right thing. I haven't always succeeded at what I've done. But one thing I haven't done is just let time slip by. I haven't, you know, gone to bed on every night without saying, whoa, there's nothing more I could have thrown at that day. So, you know, I got a chance to meet Kawase Mfume when he was the head of the NAACP. And he told me this story. His grandmother raised him. She got a horrible cancer. He was a little boy, and she was dying fast. And he was with her at the hospital and was crying. And he said, Grandma, I don't want to live without you. It's you and me. We're the team. And she said, well, of course you're going to live. You're going to live a wonderful life. You want to remember me, though? I'm going to give you something to remember me. He said, oh, What, Grandma? What is it? I'll do it, anything. She said, all right, every single day when you wake up, you say to yourself, make this day worthwhile. And that definition of worthwhile is going to change for you. Maybe when you're 95, sitting and looking at the sunset and feeling grateful for the life you lived would be worthwhile. When you're younger, you're going to be a leader and you're going to have energy and you're going to show people how to live a good life, whatever it is. But go to bed every night and check in for yourself. Did I make that day worthwhile, or did I let some of it just squander away? So I've had that sort of drive since I've been little. As I say, not always successful, but I give the nth degree every day. But like I said before, you get real. You know, I was 60. I feel pretty good at 68. You could ask me at 90, you know, could you swim from Cuba to Florida today? I don't want to say, I don't want to limit myself, but maybe the chances are good. I would say, no, I got to get different dreams as I get older.
So how did it change your life?
I have had a lot of opportunities since. Just to write the memoir meant a lot to me. Find a way. Millions of people have read it and I hear from them. So the opportunities to inspire. The feature film is evidently going to be made of my life and my story. I am hoping, just like the book, that it will be something that children see and women see and all kinds of people have a lasting experience, that 10 years later that movie will still have the validity, you know, of those precepts. You're never too old to chase your dreams. Everybody needs a team. You know, how solitary could it look if you had been in a drone camera and your spirit had been following me for the 53 hours atop, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of training hours and the 4 failed attempts, you'd only see 2 arms coming out. There was nobody else swimming. Just the left arm and the right arm and the left arm and the right arm, but right next to me, right over there was Bonnie. And next to me in the water were my shark divers. They put my life ahead of theirs. Had somebody been killed or had a leg taken, it was going to be them, not me. So I said at the end, you know, it looks like the most solitary endeavor in the world. Trust me, like everything we do in life, it takes a team. 2 hours from shore, you never want to take for granted. You could still, in those last 2 hours, have a shark take you, or have a jellyfish take you, or you could come to the end, you know, of all the energy you have left. I was pretty spent at the end. And I asked Bonnie and John to bring our little flotilla of boats. The team was 44 people close to me. And I cried. And I said, I guess I'm going to walk up on that shore pretty soon. I'm going to stumble up. I guess somebody's going to take my picture. But don't you ever forget my team. We did this together. We made history together. So all of those life lessons are real. They're lived out loud. It's not some philosopher just spouting, you know, empty vicissitudes. I can only hope that I also move on and do the things I want in life, but that Cuba swim has legs in terms of being told as a story that means something to people for decades to come.
Well, you and I've talked about it. It's a game. It was a game changer on so many levels. And I think we didn't know when you did that swim everything that was going to happen for women.
Yeah.
Me Too, Time's Up. And I also think we also have to talk about the changes for women, because with everything we see going on in this country, if women don't take power back on a whole different level and vote and money, all the other things that we need to be empowered, I think it's the next level.
Listen, honestly, issues like addiction, obesity, depression are rampant around the world, but let's just talk about America right now, our society. These things, there's no shortage of stories. And now we know that sexual abuse in our society is an epidemic. It's right there with all those other pervasive issues. So finally, there's a liberty for those women. The coach who molested me is in the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and something's going to be done about it. But my point is, it really vindication against him. He's not alive anymore. I lost all those battles all through the years. I will win eventually. My point now is to try to get out there and get those voices of all those women who have wanted to speak out for so long and have been humiliated, felt that they would lose, especially if they went toward court. You're always the victim who's going to have to prove it, not the perpetrator who skates through. So I think that some of my life's work anyway going forward is to bring that Me Too generation even into a more formal sphere. I would like to start a national registry in Washington. Me Too is a social media movement, which is very powerful. It's been fantastic, but it's not permanent. Mm-hmm. It's not a permanent recording. I'd like to start a national archive and have people have a real concrete place to go to tell their story that's going to be etched. And they can say their names or not, they can call out their perpetrators or not, but at least that we'll then know in how many spheres has sexual abuse gone on? All of them. It's time. It's time that we know more of the stories and we stand up and say, no more.
So all of these women that I've met that are from traditional cultures, Latinas, Indian Americans, Muslim women, they come from cultures where they want to take action. What do you say to those women? What do you know now that you wish all of those women would know to get up and take action and speak up? I tell them all, be loud. I wish I could be louder and braver. What would you say to them?
Well, you say that your life is as precious and as valuable as your husband's life. And as your boss's life, if it's a male. If you're smart and you've moved your way up and you've proven yourself and people are listening to you, don't belittle your own life. You don't have to be rude. You don't even have to be loud. Just be proud and confident and be assertive about what you do. Walk into a boardroom and say, well, excuse me, I have the tape of myself 2 years ago bringing up this idea. So all of you have profited. And all of you have, won your awards. Which one of you gentlemen is going to stand up and say, I remember, it was actually Maria, it was you who first brought this to us, and we better do some justice about it now. Women have to say, it's just as they do with the Me Too movement, is that it's no longer time to stay silent. Let's speak up. You don't value your life anymore as much as theirs. Get with it.
So tell us about Everwalk.
Bonnie and I got done with Cuba and we had this epic experience. Well, we got thinking there are very few people who are going to want to do that swim. I'm not sure in my lifetime anyone's going to do it again. But people can walk, and it's the blue sky instead of the blue ocean. And it's still walking the curvature of the earth instead of swimming the curvature there. So all of those same, sort of magical concepts of finding out who you are, set a goal, go out and look at where you live in this beautiful area, the Venice canals. So Everwalk is our new mission to get America a little bit away from their screens and a little bit away from fast foods and into the great outdoors and walk. And I would love for foreigners to come here 10 years from now and say, do you see those Americans? They walk everywhere. That's a walking culture, not a driving screen culture anymore.
Wow, so tell me what Everwalk is. You're taking them on a walk, where?
We're a movement, so we are everwalk.com. People join us virtually. People become ambassadors. They develop groups of 50 walkers in South Orange, New Jersey, and in Tampa, Florida, and they're on our map, and you click and you say, oh, David Asher's doing a walk along the Manhattan skyline on Saturday. Cool. So we're trying to be a hub of walking, and we do epic walks. We're just about to go from the border of Washington, Canada, down to Seattle, to the Great Pacific Northwest. Last year we walked Boston up to Cape Elizabeth, Maine, iconic New England lighthouses. We do service walks where in Key West, we walk 10 miles every morning, and we work for Habitat for Humanity every afternoon, sort of piece back together Hurricane Irma damaged homes down there. So we're just walking fools. We're just walking short distances. We do a first Saturday of every month walk all around the nation. One year, Bonnie and I are going to go to 50 cities in 50 weeks. So we're going to do a whole bunch of walking. We're still developing, but we want your fans to come to everwalk.com.
I want to go to Everwalk.
Yeah.
I need to go to Everwalk.
And we'll walk together for sure here, but it doesn't cost you anything. Just join the nation. Go to Everwalk Nation and join, and you'll get our newsletter and find out where we're walking, and join us and walk virtually wherever you are. Find walking partners, and we intend to make Americans back to becoming walkers.
Love it.